Keep that applause going for Vicki Juditz. Come on. One more time, Vicki Juditz.
Earlier this month, as fires began to blaze across the state of California, Governor Jerry Brown declared, "Fasten your seatbelts. We are in for an epic fire season." Those fires are still burning, and I'm reminded of why I became an environmental activist. Sunday, October 21st, 2007. My daughter was 9. She was on a soccer team. Practice was called off that day. A lot of kids couldn't make it in. Malibu was burning. Agua Dulce, Arrowhead, Canyon Country, arsonists, and power lines down by Santa Ana's had ignited trees from Santa Barbara to the Mexican border. I was awed by the statistics. 6,000 firefighters from California, Arizona, Nevada were joined by members of the U.S. Armed Forces and the National Guard, and 3,000 prisoners convicted of nonviolent offenses, and 60 bomberos. I love that word, bomberos, the Mexican firefighters. Together, they battled 17 major fires fueled by high temperatures, high winds, and vegetation desiccated by severe drought. There was so much smoke you could see it from space. As those fires blazed, one incident in particular stood out for me. At the Santiago Canyon fire in the foothills above Irvine, a dozen firefighters were ordered to lay hose so they could put out spot fires above the road there. They laid the hose, they turned the nozzle, and nothing came out. And behind them, the fire jumped the road. There was no time to run. Their captain yelled, "Deploy," and the men ripped open their emergency packages and unfurled flimsy foil shelters. They call them shake and bakes. And the men hit the ground. The fires roared over and around them. And those men communicated by radio, calling roll over and over and over to make sure every man was accounted for until they got the all clear from their chief, who was at a safe location. The men whipped off their shelters. Oh my God, how much did I want to buy one of those shelters? As I listened to the news on the radio of the fires forming an ever-tightening circle around the city of Los Angeles. As I looked outside at the brown sky and the falling ash, I didn't want to just buy one shelter. I wanted a dozen. And I wanted them for my car and my house. If they were small enough, I wanted to put them in my purse. For myself, for my husband, for my daughter. No, you know what I really wanted? Individual pop-up biospheres, capable of generating oxygen, food, water for hours, weeks, days, months, years. Okay, instead I went and I stocked up on canned goods and bottled water, and I stayed inside. And a week later, those fires were still burning. It was Saturday. All the soccer fields were empty because everybody had to stay inside due to unhealthy air quality. And 1 million people had been evacuated, and 500,000 acres had burned, and 17 people had died, and 3,000 structures gone, and countless animals, birds, trees. And an estimated 8.7 million tons of carbon dioxide had been added to the blanket of greenhouse gases surrounding the earth. And next day was Sunday. I took my daughter to ballet. I stood outside the studio. I was talking to this other mother. And I said, I think that the fires in Southern California, I think this is our Hurricane Katrina. The worst is yet to come. And she said, all I can say is I am glad that I sold the ski condo in Arrowhead when I did. If I have learned one thing in this life, it is when to get out. And I said, with global warming, there might not be anywhere to go. And she said, there's always Vail. And then all the little girls rushed out because class was over. 10 9-year-olds with their little pink shoes and their pink tights and their pink leotards. They were so innocent, so unprotected. I wanted to do something. I wanted to take action of some kind. A friend of mine, the Sierra Club, told me about this grassroots activist, Bill McKibben. And he was planning rallies all over the country in response to those fires, in response to severe weather events. And the purpose of those rallies was to turn up the heat on Congress. to get Congress to pass legislation mandating massive cuts in carbon emissions to ward off catastrophic climate change. I went online and I looked to see if I could find one of those rallies, and I found one and I decided to go. Saturday, November 3rd. The fires have been pretty much contained. My husband took my daughter to soccer and I headed for that rally. And I started driving down the 405. I felt pretty good about making a difference. I was burning with revolutionary fervor. And I got off at the Wilshire exit and I headed to that federal building, and there were 8 people. There were 8 people standing on that corner. A veteran in Wilshire holding handmade signs that said, "Cut carbon now." I said, well, we have to start someplace. I parked on Veteran and I walked back to that corner, and for the next 2 hours, the 9 of us, me, a mom and 2 little girls, a grandmother, a couple people in Sierra Club t-shirts, a yoga instructor, and an aging hippie and a white beard, we stood on that corner and we yelled, "Cut carbon now," at the passing cars. And since then, I've been to a lot of rallies, thankfully better attended. And I've given speeches, and I've written letters, and I had visited with my members of Congress. And Congress has yet to pass legislation to fight global warming. You know, it would lift my spirits if all of us could give a single rallying cry. Just if you feel comfortable, please, there's no pressure. Okay, just a single rallying cry just to lift my spirits together of cut carbon now. Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Cut carbon now! Thank you.